Doctors could be on the brink of a breakthrough.
Migraines.
How to control them.
Tame a migraine.
A severe migraine.
Throbbing, recurring headaches.
Given all the noise, navigating the migraine experience can be confusing and scary, but you do not have to do it alone. Welcome to the Migraine Guy Podcast, the official podcast of themigraineguy.com and theheadachereview.com. Now, here's your host.
What's up, pod people? It's Kevin here, bringing you part 2 of the Marta Taylor interview. If you don't know who she is a pretty interesting person, but has a focus right now on promoting the Headache and Migraine Summit she has put together that starts on July 10th. It's free to register. Registration information is going to be in the show notes provided below. And if you click on that link, you can just input your email and you'll get a return email. That's what it's called. Automated reply telling you that you are enrolled and information about how to start watching the summit as it progresses day to day from July 10th to the 17th. They have over 30 speakers, so some days are going to be very, very busy trying to consume all of that content. If you do miss a day, then you can have access to the previous days that you missed, but you will have to pay a small fee. All of that information, though, is on the website, so you can go check that out if you want. But I'm going to be definitely planning on at least catching them every day, talking about them online with all you wonderful people. So let's get started back up with the second part of the interview with Marta. I was just curious how strongly you wanted to be committed to the...
100%. You've hit the nail on the head. I don't even believe that. And it depends on what you mean by getting rid of migraines. If you mean getting rid of migraines just temporarily without medication, well, maybe that's right. Some people choose to take medication. I mean, the last couple of months, I've not taken anything for my migraines, not even because I used to take, yes, chemical-based, over-the-counter painkillers just to take the edge off a little bit. But the last couple of months, I've actually devoted myself to not taking anything, and even when I get them. And so it's been a little bit of an experiment, and it's painful, but at the same time, because I also practice Vipassana meditation, which is about allowing sensations to arise in your body, noticing them, and kind of understanding at the same time that they will pass. And that's actually what I've noticed with my migraines, is that they have a very intense period, but at the end of the day, they actually pass as well. They don't stay there. They have this natural burnout rate, because my fear was, by not taking anything absolutely whatsoever, is that it was just going to stick around, never go away. But it's not the case. It actually burns out by itself, which has been very interesting for me. So in relation to getting rid of just the temporary pain of a migraine, that's a person's choice. Getting rid of them as in not having them ever again because you've addressed some other deep imbalance in your body, then again, I agree that 100% no medication, because you will do that with diet, nutrition, supplements. I mean, look, if you've got, there are lots of things that you can do naturally, although some practitioners still prefer to use so if you've got a parasite and you're chronically ill, they might give you some antibiotics and say, okay, it's so bad, you're in such a bad state, we need to get rid of this parasite with antibiotics so you don't get any sicker than you already are, and then we'll rebuild, your gut issues after this, but you need to do this right now. So, but yes, what I'm saying is I'm committed to the fact that no medication, no chemical medication, if it's possible for you. So that's the path that I've chosen, and that's really what where the summit came from, that there's a possibility that you can do this without the medication.
Okay. And so that's just such I'm in grad school. I'm in grad school for philosophy, and so I really care about argument. And so the claim that, so I mean, I guess ideally, right, if you could give some person who has a condition and say you can do a dietary X, Y, and Z approach, or you could do a medication approach, or both, you're saying that you would prefer the dietary supplement hormonal area and no medication at all. That's like the ideal circumstance, as you understand it? Okay.
Yeah, that's the path that I would choose, and I have chosen. So I haven't taken, gone to the doctor and asked for medication for. It's been a path that I've chosen for about 20 years now. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But that's not to say that I haven't taken any medication in circumstances where I've had to. Mm-hmm. And I'm also not advocating that if somebody's been taking medication for a prolonged period of time, that they cut everything out. So that's 100% not what I'm not saying, because that in itself can cause issues. Mm-hmm. So I would suggest that anything that is done in relation to a person taking medication, not taking medication, is to do it all under the guidance of a practitioner. I definitely am saying that this is an alternative approach. So the Chronic Headache and Migraine Summit is based on an alternative approach, which is why we're saying it's a holistic and functional approach to the prevention and treatment of migraine pain. So it's something else, a different way to look at it if it's not something that has been investigated previously. Okay. So your kids, don't go off your medication like from one day to the next.
Yes, these are the things I like to avoid, or the unstated things, right? I don't want people to hear something and then interpret it differently. Explicit is best, I think.
Yeah, so if people, and it is a very important point, so if people have already been on medication and then they choose to investigate some other avenues, then that's something to discuss with that particular clinician that they're seeing, to say, I've been taking, or 25 milligrams of this every day for the past 10 years, and, I'm ready to try something else, and then talk about, a weaning off period if that's appropriate. So I'm not a medical doctor by any means, so don't be going off and doing that and say, Marta said so.
That's right.
That's what I'd like for you, ultimately, to be all natural and healthy. But, there are ways about going about doing that as well.
Okay. Fair enough. So let's see. So let's get a little bit into the mechanics of the summit. So what's the formats? Is it going to be like every day a link is sent to people who have registered, and there's 5 or 6 videos they can watch in a 24-hour period?
That's exactly it. Yes.
It? Okay.
That's exactly it. And it's a good point to cover, because a lot of people don't, or if they haven't listened to summits, don't understand how summits work. So from July 10, starting on July 10, which is, I think, USA Eastern Standard Time, I think it is, from that 24-hour period. Well, I don't know if it's Eastern Standard Time or Pacific Time. So anyway, I think it's Eastern Time. So from that 24-hour period, every day there'll be 3, 4, or 5 speakers. Actually, on day 6, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 speakers even. And there's a theme for every single day. And it might be nutrition, it might be hormones, it might be, do-it-yourself kind of thing, self-care. And,
DIY.
So you DIY. So every day, you can, for that 24-hour period, you can log in and listen to those speakers. If by chance some people might not have an opportunity to listen to all of the speakers, or they missed some or whatever, then at any point in time they can actually purchase the summit as well for themselves, and then that will have all of the audio, the video, the transcripts. And then there's also a bunch of free stuff. There's some ebooks by the co-hosts, some other little packages by some of the speakers. We've got 25% off from Thrive Markets as well, which can be used. So there's a bunch of really good resources that can be utilised.
Yeah, very cool. And so how did you find 30 speakers? Did you do it individually, or did you have a team of people that kind of outsourced some of the work? Or do you just know 30
Oh,
migraine
no.
specialists?
Well, between the three of us hosts, so Corey, Erin, and myself, we knew a bunch of these people that because we've worked with them or, we've been to conferences with them. And Corey, with his headache clinic, he actually knows a lot of these clinicians himself. And so what we did is we just approached them ourselves. So the three of us speakers individually approached the people that we've interviewed.
Okay. It's just a lot of people. That sounds like a lot of cats to herd.
Oh, well, that's why it took a long time to put it together.
I'm sure.
It's not for the faint-hearted putting a summit together, let me tell you.
Oh, I can't imagine.
So we do actually have a team. So the team that produced it is Health Talks Online, and they're the ones in the background doing all of the work, sending out emails, putting the whole website together, editing the videos, typing up the transcripts, chasing us hosts, chasing up some of the speakers when necessary. So there's a lot of work there. I actually originally wanted to do the whole summit format myself a year ago. And yeah, I'm glad that I didn't, and that I teamed up with Health Talks Online, because it definitely, I don't know if I would have, I think I would have had an onset of a lot of migraines, let's put it that way.
That's right, stress induced.
That's right.
Cool. Okay. And so you also have a podcast. It's called Living Limitlessly. What kind of topics do you cover there for those who haven't heard of it?
Yeah, so definitely along the lines of, it ties in very much to what I've spoken about in relation to migraines, and it's looking for all of those alternative therapies that you can use without relying on medication or conventional medicine, so to speak. And I've had a lot of interesting, speakers that I've interviewed on there talking about a variety of things, and also with that slant of biohacking your own body. So hacking into your own system, as you would say, do it yourself type of things, to make yourself healthier and more effective and, more efficient and being the best that you can be, basically.
Okay. So let's see. I want to get one more interesting question in here before we, I guess, what's it been, like almost an hour? Yikes. Okay. So what relevance do you think an individual who's considering trying quote unquote natural X, Y, or Z possibility should be looking into research about that particular option? So if I'm going to go see a non-standard clinician and they say, hey, you've got, maybe some intolerance to this kind of food item, cut that out, do this and do that, take this supplement. What responsibility do you think the individual patient has to then go out and try to find some research for or against what the clinician is saying, whether or not they're saying take a triptan, take amitriptyline, or cut out wheat or dairy? I'm just curious, like, how much research do you think a responsible patient should ingest?
I think it's super important in relation to, if you're the CEO of your own health, then all responsibility at the end of the day lies with you. Do you know what I mean? Because you have to look at it as you're the head honcho, and then you've gone off to find this practitioner. Maybe you've put them on your board of directors, but they work for you. So, they work for you because they've got expertise in that area, but ultimately, the final say comes down to you. Now, the more in tune you are with your own body, the easier it is to make some decisions, to be honest, and you can kind of experiment. And I don't know if, going off and doing research online is important, because I read a lot of forums to see what people say about things, because, I think the biggest thing I've learned about reading forums and understanding people and how they react to things is that it's right for one person, like I've said, not right for another person. So at the end of the day, ultimately, you never know until you experiment with yourself. But then there's always going to be, when people say, when there's a large number of people saying, oh yeah, this makes you feel nauseated or whatever, then you take that into consideration. Or if there's been deaths with something, I'm being extreme now, do you know what I mean? So it's definitely up to each individual to go off and do their research, take into consideration what the practitioner said, but you've got to remember they are also the expert. And this will never just come down only that it's about food, even though what you're doing might be about food. But if you've got a hormonal imbalance, then certain things are going to make your body, work better. So do your research based on understanding how the body works then, do you know what I mean? Not trying to find a scientific study that was done in a lab on rats, for example. Go find out whether what this practitioner said to you makes sense. Does it sit with you? What are the drawbacks? And the more you do about it, the more, I guess, testing you do on yourself, then you're also providing that information to the clinician. So, for example, what's a good example? Somebody had said to me, a practitioner recently, to eat a lot of, raw greens. And I said, well, actually, that's no good for me because I've had my gut microbiome tested and I don't process oxalates very well. And oxalates are those things that are in like spinach and broccoli, and kale and things like that. So I definitely can't eat those raw because if anything, that's going to cause a reaction for me, aggravate my leaky gut, which means more migraines. So the practitioner doesn't know that because they haven't done a whole bunch of testing on me, and it's impossible for them to do, every test on me, but I've done the testing, so I know that about myself. Mm-hmm. So this is about everybody, I'm advocating that everybody really understands themselves and knows as much about themselves as they can so they can make informed decisions in conjunction with the practitioner that they're working with, the expert in their field. But you need to be the expert in your own field, which is you. Mm-hmm. But I definitely like to take full responsibility for my own health, and that might trip some people out because they're like, what? But I'm not a medical practitioner. Yes, but also the medical practitioner isn't with you 24/7, so they actually they don't know everything about you and they never will. And basically, I want to leave on this note saying that when you're thinking about, taking medication, because you said something that reminded me of this, medication is not usually a cure. Medication, and there's a guy on the summit called Rid Davis, and he has his own certification, a functional diagnostic nutrition certification. He said medication is a distraction. And I'm going to change that to, it's similar to what he's saying, but what medication does is it relieves, and actually interpretation of what he's saying, medication relieves your symptoms while the body heals itself. So that's the way to look at medication, not that it's not fixing you. Medication is not generally, most of the time, not fixing you. What it's doing is it's relieving the pain that you have and whatever symptoms you've got so that the body can heal itself. That's what medication does. So, I'd like people to maybe start thinking a little bit differently about what medication is.
Interesting.
I can hardly wait to see the comments on the bottom of on your Facebook page or whatever after our podcast.
It's just such a provocative claim. It's so provocative. But, provocative is good, gets people talking.
It does get people talking.
Yeah. So I'll let the people do the talking. I've pushed back enough today, I suppose. Okay, good. So where can people find you on the internet?
Yes, well, you're going to put the link to the summit so people can register for the summit via your link. Yep. And then they can find me at Facebook, Instagram, and all that kind of thing. And I welcome some more questions about all the provocative things that we've talked about today.
That's right. Tag her in all of your provocative questions.
And when we say provocative, that's G-rated.
Yes. Every comment should be with respect and a certain level of civility.
Yes, I'm happy to have all of these conversations, and I definitely am open to everyone's opinion, but there's a way that it can be discussed, nicely.
Yes, very, very true. Like we're doing right now.
Exactly.
So that was basically the end of the interview with Marta Taylor. We had some pleasantries at the end and a couple jokes back and forth, but nothing much more was said. So that is what the kind of content is going to be for the Headache and Migraine Summit coming up July 10th. There's going to be a lot of information about hormones, a lot of information about diet, a lot of information about supplementation, and a lot more. So even if you disagree with the some of the claims made by Marta or what some of the things are going to be said in the summit, at least we'll have the benefit of being able to have a respectful debate about the topic, and that's always good too. And most importantly, of course, is getting migraine awareness to the forefront, getting these kind of conferences well attended. That way they continue to happen. These things are very difficult to put together, I imagine. They're very expensive, and they are probably to some extent like trying to herd cats. But the more frequent that we talk about them, the more frequent we discuss them, the more frequently we watch them, the more likely they are to occur in the future. And so even if you don't like this speaker or that particular speaker, the overall idea of a conference devoted solely to headache and migraine issues is very important, something that we should have continuing. So make sure you watch as much as you can. Make sure you talk about it online as much as you can. Make sure to keep awareness in the forefront of your mind. It's a big thing for headache and migraine sufferers. That is the podcast, but I got a little message coming up at the end that I'm tagging onto all my podcasts, so please listen to that. Hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search The Migraine Guy. And until next week, everyone, take it easy. If you want to help keep everything that the Migraine Guy does free, then you can become a patron over at the website patreon.com. That's Patreon.com. Patreon lets people contribute funds to other people whose work they value. Becoming a patron does things for me, such as allowing me to buy new products so that I can do product review videos so that you know whether or not a given migraine product actually works before you buy it. It also helps me do things like upgrade the microphones and cameras for both the YouTube channel and this podcast. And more importantly, it helps me be accountable to you, my migraine community. You can pledge as low as $1 a month if you want to, and every single dollar does help. Just head over to patreon.com/themigraineguy to become a patron today.